And as we get started, as we're just waiting for a few more people to join in, anybody want to unmute themselves or chat in the chat box something awesome when it comes to revenue share that has happened in the last week? Because I love to start with some good news or something exciting to get some good energy going. Anyone? I know a lot of you were at the event last week, and I heard some people had some great recruiting opportunities and agent attraction opportunities there. So that's fantastic.
I can share.
Yeah.
Well, it's not like a huge win yet, but I just randomly, because we bought, like we overbought all the places, we bought 2 tables because we thought, anyways, at the end, we ended up with like an almost extra table. So I was like, well, screw it. I'm just gonna message everyone. I think I was like, well, I had conversations with previously, not about the but about. I had conversations.
Wait a second, we've got somebody. Hold on. Everybody mute if you don't mind when you come in. Once we mute, here we go. I'm muting everybody. Mute if you don't mind. Okay, now finish. I think we're good.
And so I invited this one. She's she was at the AVL Top 100 event last month or this month, whatever. She's, she has a pretty good team. She just switched brokerages from KW to a smaller brokerage in town. And I mean, I didn't think there was a chance with her, but I was like, well, whatever. I'm just gonna just invite her and see, if we just need somebody at the table, And now we're talking to her, and she said that this event really changed her perspective and opinion about EXP and the model, and she wants to learn more. So yeah, I mean,
so officially,
for me, it's a small win,
Like officially, she mentioned like EXP now is like on top priority list. If she ever considers switching, EXP now is like totally different.
That's right. That's right. That's awesome. Yeah, I think all of you that went to the event, use that event to bring value to people and build that relationship, are planting seeds, and they're gonna benefit you in months and years to come for sure.
Yeah, and I'm sending them all thank you cards for coming all the way to Charlotte for, and supporting me at my presentation. So we'll see.
That's awesome. Good reminder. Personal thank you notes, sending a quick video message, something really heartfelt and personal makes a big difference. They don't feel like it was just, let's invite everybody and we don't recognize who's coming, but rather, we really wanted you to be here and we were glad you were. Yeah. Awesome. I am excited to see some of you on camera too. I know sometimes it's hard to be on camera, but I'm sure Marty likes to talk to people versus faces on a screen. I know I do. So we're going to go ahead and get started. I'll continue to let people in. It looks like we've got a number of people watching during the live stream as well, which is fantastic. I mentioned to you guys last week, we were going to have a guest, and I'm very excited to have Marty. Marty and I don't actually know each other personally yet, although we're going to get to know each other, I'm sure, after today. I actually got on one of Marty's campaigns, her email campaigns, and I've been watching what she's been doing. And I thought it was just brilliant. And I love the topics, and she's always coming from contribution, and she's doing, classes and masterminds for people in the industry and inviting them and always coming from value. And I love that. And we talk about that all the time. If we just be our authentic selves and we help other people, we're planting a lot of seeds and we're providing things to people that they wouldn't have otherwise. And we're not doing it with an agenda, but it will absolutely lead to growth, and it will lead to people wanting to be in your world. And that's what I've seen just from afar with Marty. And then when we invited her to be a guest, I was able to get some additional information on, and so I'm just going to do a really quick little introduction. And then Marty, I'm going to let you, of course, elaborate on it, because I'm sure I'm not going to do your career and your success complete justice here. But Marty's been in business for a number of years. She accrued a lot of different recognitions as the #1 RE/MAX team in the US, the #3 RE/MAX team in the world. I mean, she was just highly, highly successful at her time at RE/MAX. Also, she's been listed as one of the most powerful women in real estate in the National Relocation Real Estate Magazine, which is fantastic. She's been a finalist for Inman's Innovator of the Year for her international Coming Soon Homes platform, which that's a whole nother topic. Maybe she'll come in sometime and chat with us and do a mastermind with me on here in EXP Family Tree. And after being ranked #1 at RE/MAX from 2014 to 2019, Marti felt it was time to take on a fresh new challenge in 2020. And that's to become #1 amongst other innovative game-changing agents and teams at EXP Realty. And I asked them to share a little bit about Marti's growth since 2020, and it looks quite amazing. Am I correct in believing that you have about 182 current in your group now here at EXP just since 2022, Marti?
That's correct.
So that's some amazing growth. Your FLA number looked to be at about 51, which is fantastic because as we all know, we're only in 2022. So this is just in a couple of years' time. And I would love to hear from you as we first start out, anything else that I missed that's important to know about you as a human being. Obviously, we talked a lot about your business successes and growth, but I always think it's nice to understand who people are also as a human being, because business is just part of who we are, right? So anything that you'd like to add to that, Marti, before we get into a conversation about your growth here at EXP would be awesome.
Well, I am just a gal from North Carolina. I was born in North Carolina, although I've lived in 6 different states, and the closest one to you was probably Colorado. I lived in Colorado for a long time, and I loved out west. But unfortunately, I was not lucky in love. And by the time I was 25, I had a couple of poor marriages under my belt, and I had 3 children to raise. And I said, what in the world am I going to do to keep myself off of welfare? I better learn how to do something. And so I chose real estate. And honestly, I was probably 26 years old. Did you know that only 4% of the people that get into this industry get into it as their main profession and remain there for life? And I was one of that 4% because I just loved what it did for me. Although I will tell you that I did burn out probably in my first 2 years of real estate because the phone rang all the time. The kids were crying all the time. I mean, it was a train wreck for a very long time. But then we moved back. I was in Atlanta at that point, and then I moved back to North Carolina. And again, I had a failed relationship. And I said, I've got to go back and make this real estate thing work for me because I don't see any other way to send these kids to college, to educate them, to give them, a fair break in life. So I went back into real estate with a vengeance to make it mine. And went with a big national company. It was called Prudential at the time. I think it's Berkshire Hathaway now. And I stayed there for just a few years. And then I called up somebody and I said, one of the broker owners here. And I said, you don't know me. My name is Marti Hamptom, but if I come to work for you, I'm going to make you a lot of money. And so if you ever get that call, be sure to take that call. So I would say that I got into real estate with a vengeance, and it was something that fit me because I had a lot of energy and I gave it a lot of energy, and I could see the results that it was making. I think for the first 8 years I was behind in my taxes, so that wasn't pleasant, but I finally did get the step of that. The first few years I was in real estate, I used to have to pawn things in order to make it to the next commission check, because you have to understand, I didn't have any family support. I had no sphere of influence. I just basically had no assets at all. I didn't even have a car that ran really well. So my beginnings were very, very stressful, shall we say. But out of a lot of stress sometimes comes a lot of good things. And real estate did a lot of good things for me over the years. I switched from that company to RE/MAX in 1996. I quickly probably bought a franchise with them by 1997 because that was the road, how you went up. How do you go up from running a successful team while you run a company? That's what you think. And of course I ran that company, and we did a successful RE/MAX that focused on teams. And RE/MAX is not really a team focused company. Actually, none of the big major companies are. EXP, shared the model for that and has really made the model for teams something to be excited about. So that's pretty much what I came in. And actually, I was getting ready to leave Remax because I saw their value decrease. And I realized that I had been renting their name for like 20 years. And I said, people know my name by now. I think I'll be okay. My phone will probably ring. So on the way to becoming independent, I started hearing about EXP. So honestly, I made an intellectual decision to join EXP. And it was just the right thing to do. I knew enough about real estate. I've been in real estate for 35 years. I know the different models. I knew the people who ran the companies, and I know what they were there for. And they were there to get rich themselves, not to make their agents rich. And frankly, I could tell by looking at the model of EXP that this was something really, really different. And the biggest thing I'll tell you that happened to me along this journey is I'm probably more, no, I'm not probably, I am absolutely more convinced that this is the best model in real estate today, a little bit over 2 years after joining, than I was the day that I did join. So that gives you a little background.
Oh, I love this. You said a couple of things. And one thing is that you've rented the name of somebody else and it finally, you get to make it your own and succeed through other people and build an organization. I mean, you did that for Remax. And to some degree, of course, it was building your wealth, but it wasn't building your wealth like you can do here at EXP. So, also one thing I'm taking away is that if your why and your motivation is big enough, it's okay that you may not have every resource and have everything figured out at the beginning, but you will figure it out and you will get through it if your motivation and your why is strong enough. And that's a really powerful message for people, whether it's about selling real estate, whether it's about building their revenue share, income. If you've got something that you really, really need and want to make happen in your life, this is a vehicle that can get you there. You just have to really dig in and tap into that why and that motivation and make it happen. And we're all here to support you. This is why we do this call every single week and why we do our masterminds every Tuesday and Wednesday, so that you can be surrounded with these conversations to help you feel like you can actually get out there and get into action, because action is what leads to results. So those are the two takeaways I just heard from you, Marti, that I wanted to reiterate. So when you came here in 2020, you had an idea that this was going to be a revolutionary model for you to continue on your career. You believe it to be much more true even today, 2 years later. Talk with us a little bit about what was the mindset that you came into EXP with, and what have you done in the last 2 years to really take advantage of this model?
Okay. Well, honestly, for the first 6 months, I didn't do anything. I just continued to sell real estate the way I had. And oh yeah, we were with EXP now, but I didn't understand it. I really didn't delve into it. But there's one component that I'll tell you about. I actually have a son in the business. I had two grown children in the business with me. So during my time in real estate, I'd say during the last probably 15 years or so, maybe 20 years, they've been talking about selling your book of business. All different companies will talk about that, but nobody ever really gave you a real solid plan in order to do that. So I did intellectually see that with EXP, and I did come here because I do have 2 children in this business. So that was very, very attractive to me. So I didn't mess with it for 6 months, 7 months. And then, you look at rev share. I went to some events that I saw people that had extreme success. And honestly, I was intimidated. I mean, I don't have a right to speak in that group because I haven't made vast success. And so it intimidated me. So I said, well, if somebody else can do this, I can do this. But here's the question: do I have the energy to do it? Because you got to bring the juice, to anything you do, you got to bring the power, you got to bring the energy. And so I decided if I was going to do something, I was going to do it very well. I was going to do it to the best of my ability. And I was going to, and here's another thing too. It's like, I don't know if you've ever gone to the gym, probably most of you have, but I've gone to the gym alone. And it wasn't quite as successful as when I had somebody meeting me at the gym. So when I had somebody meeting me at the gym, I would show up and I'd try to, I'd try to do a little bit better because I had somebody looking at me that I cared about. I was meeting them at the gym. And that's really what EXP has gotten to now, because I think it is the perfect team model for a number of reasons. You have to understand that by the time I got to EXP, I had been in business with people 10, 20 years. I had them on my team. And of course, I'd lost some people too, but a lot of people had stayed with me. So I'd had them and the team. So what about their success? What about their future? What about them? And so I wanted something that could relate to them and give them financial benefit. So I jumped on board.
I love it. So let's talk about strategies and tactics. So you came in, you had background in leading teams, background in leading a franchise. You understood providing value. I was a team leader of a Keller Williams Market Center for a number of years, and it truly is similar in the way of let's bring people into our world, let's pour into them, bring them value. And so when they're successful, we're successful. This model just brings that to a whole new level. And it's making it successful for our own futures and our own wealth building versus somebody else's. But conceptually, it's very similar. It's why people decide to build teams in the first place, which is to have a bit of leveraged it's more leveraged income than it's ever passive, because we never really passively lead a team, nor do we really passively at the beginning lead a revenue share organization, I don't think. But it is about finding the ways in which we can collaborate together so people can have more success and we can succeed through others. And so I'm sure that you understood that conceptually, but now you had to figure out a way in which you would articulate that and bring that to your connections, bring that to other agents. So talk a little bit about some of the tactics and strategies for revenue share growth that you've employed that have worked well for you. We love to just hear what other people are doing in this group so that we can continue to bring ideas to ourselves and make sure that we're doing, we're bringing the best of ourselves to this model as well. So we'd love to hear from you on that front, if you don't mind.
Well, I had a great conversation this morning from a team that we're bringing on in Asheville, North Carolina, and we're going to, they're signing a letter of intent today, will come on in the next month or so. But one thing we're going to do is join with another partner of mine. And I think that's a really important key of it too, is the people I want to be in business with. I'm so excited about being in business with these two ladies. One of them is a team leader from Iowa. Her name is Amy Wienans. She is incredible, just a ball of energy, and just she's fire, absolute fire. And then Rowena actually has a huge history with Keller Williams. She was a MAPS coach there. She runs a great team in Asheville. So we're going to do an event on November the 3rd in Asheville, where we're going to bring agents in. We'll probably partner with a lender from about 1 to 4. We'll probably do 20, 25-minute segments, each of us, maybe the three ladies. Remember the three ladies? We're going to do that together. And then we're also going to invite, there's about 5 or 6 other big teams in Asheville. We're going to invite somebody from those teams to be in a roundtable discussion during that 1 to 4. So that will bring other teams in. That'll bring people from that company in. We're not going to talk about EXP until the very end. And then at the very end, we're going to, of course, have hors d'oeuvres and cocktails. And right before we let them have all that, we'll tell them a little bit about EXP and try not to, what is it they call it when you overdo the whole EXP thing? I don't know. You have too much of it. We're going to try to intrigue them without overselling. And isn't it hard not to oversell this company? I just think it's probably about the hardest thing I've ever done, is to shut up and to find out where they're coming from and to find out what their need is, and not to vomit EXP. That's hard to do.
It's hard to do because there's a lot of great things here. And so it comes from a genuine place of wanting to share so people know what they don't know so that they can truly take advantage of it. And you're right, it's a skill because you have to really educate and help them self-discover versus telling. So events have been something that you have been successful at doing, bringing people together and then growing through others. I noticed you also have a great email campaign, and you do a lot of training and you invite people to your Zoom calls. Do you want to talk a little bit about that strategy? You don't have to go into depth, but how did that start and what does that generally look like for you?
Oh, I got a great marketing gal that's actually in the room with me right now, Nicole Hanner and Dave in my marketing team. And so she said, well, we need to talk to people, you know, let's talk to them once a week. And it's a Zoom call. It's open to anybody. It's about real estate, but it's about success, and it's about, you know, business in general. Real estate just happens to be my business, but the same principles work in a lot of business. So sometimes I'll be talking about what my biggest ace in the hole is probably listings. So I'll be talking about that and talking about listings, and then another time it might be another topic. But honestly, it's really just about the motivation that it takes to succeed through the ups and downs, through the disappointments, you know, through all that, going forward and not getting stuck.
Yeah.
This market is really important.
So a weekly call, you obviously have collected people's email addresses, you send out reminders, you've got a marketing team that does that. Consistency is critical. One thing I've noticed is I have consistently received emails from Marti. They are not overwhelming, but they are extremely consistent. And so you know that she shows up consistently because you see it. And people like to be around people who are professional, consistent, doing things, because for those of us that sometimes get stuck in our own ways, we want that motivation from somebody who just shows up, and we want to be like that. So we attract to that. So I actually just wanted to give you guys an idea about this. Marti does a great job of this, and I'm sure with her connections across the country, because of her accolades and growth at Remax and at Prudential and her relocation, this is open to everybody, and you can do that too. But for those of you that are looking to just really surround yourselves with great conversations and great people locally in your market, you know, just doing a weekly call, and Chrissy, who's on the call, does this in Minnesota, just a weekly Zoom call, and invite co-op agents, invite colleagues, invite friends in the business. And she brings in, of course, mortgage lenders to talk about what's going on. And it's all a mastermind. It's about sharing together. But I do know that it also comes down to, Marti, a lot of times, how do we get ourselves to do the things that we're not doing? How do we get ourselves to execute at a little bit higher level? How do we, you know, bring the juice, like you said, bring the best version of ourselves? Because you know what? I had a call with somebody this morning, and he said, you know, Carrie, I am excited for the goal. I know and can see what I want to do. I'm having a really hard time getting myself motivated to do the things to get to the goal. And I have a lot of self-awareness around that. I know that this is my challenge. And he had some personal things that have gone on in his life. He lost his wife a year ago. They were in the business together. And, you know, one of the things that we had a conversation was about, who are you surrounding yourself with? What conversations? Because when you can have conversations with other people and get energy from others, that's how you keep your juice flowing. If you just expect to do everything yourself all the time, you're going to burn out, and you're not going to be able to draw the energy that you need to output from others. So even if it's just a Zoom call once a week and maybe a meetup monthly, that the people that join the Zooms, let's go to a happy hour once a month and have some, you know, social interaction. That's more of our social time together. And during the weeks when we talk, let's just motivate each other. Let's get excited. Let's share an idea, one new tactic. Let's set our intentions for the week, so we have some accountability partners. I'd encourage you guys to do it. It's not even about recruiting. It's about surrounding yourselves with people in your local market that bring you the energy, so you have more energy to output. And you're going to need it in this shifting market. Then guess what happens? You build relationships with those people, and they're going to probably join you, right? But it's about starting with the real authentic intention first. And then planting those seeds and building those relationships are to lead to something much more. So Marti, when you started this, I mean, I assume that you probably didn't have quite as much interaction as you do today, because consistency over time probably makes it better. And so you just had to get over that and stick to the plan, right?
Right. You know, here's another thing, Lori, I think is really important. You know, I told you that when I got in real estate, I was a single mother of 3 children. And when others depend on you, you perform. You might let yourself down, but when others depend on you, you're going to perform. So I think you should put yourself to the test. You know, I was one of the first people in my market to even hire an assistant. It wasn't even considered at that point in time. So I think if you really want to do something, you have to commit to the pain. The pain part is you got to pay overhead. There's things you're going to have to pay in order to do this job really well. So I suggest that. Put yourself to the test.
That's a really good point, you guys. You know, I have said that, Marty, to people I've coached, team leaders. It's scary to be a leader of a team or even to be a leader of a collaborative group. Or quite frankly, when you say, look, I'm going to show up every Monday and do this Monday call, whether people show up with me or not, but I'm here to organize it and lead it. You will show up every Monday because just in case somebody shows up, it's like going to the gym. You're not going to let that person hang. So you're leveling up your own self-discipline and self-leadership, because you will show up for other people when you won't show up for yourself. Mentorship within EXP has helped people do that. I said, you know, if you're having a hard time getting yourself into action, go be a leader to somebody else and tell them they have to get into action and see what happens. To tell them the things that you're unwilling to do, and you will show up with a different level of energy for them when you don't feel like it for yourself. So I love that.
True. It's very true.
So what else would you say if you have 3 tips to share with us, or 3 things that you think have led to your revenue share growth? Almost 185 people, probably 200 by the end of your 2nd year. What would you say has helped you have that success? Couple things.
You know, I had a lot of success out of my general area by other groups, coaching groups that I belong to, national coaching groups. I knew people from those arenas as well. And so I think those relationships, I'm in business now with 2 people that, you know, I was not with Remax with, but I was in business with them through another coaching group that I was in. So I think being involved in as many things as you can be is a wonderful thing. And when people get to know you, you become, you attract friends. You like attracts like. And I actually want to be around people who bring that juice, who want to be, you know, we have a saying in the South, y'all may like it out west. It says, sometimes it's time to get down off the porch and roam with the big dogs. And, you know, actually, that's the reason I went to EXP, is because I saw the players, I saw the field, and I saw the really hot teams that were really making the numbers, and they were all moving to Remax. And I said, excuse me, they were all moving to EXP. They're moving away from Remax, by the way. So when that happened, I said, I got to go where the action is. You know, I don't want to ever be, and I don't necessarily want to be the biggest player in the room. I don't want that. I want somebody to shoot for. I want somebody, you know, I like competition, but I know in the end, the competition really is only me and myself, and can I better what I'm doing? So that's kind of how I think.
I love it. So are you finding yourself in your recruiting ventures, just out of curiosity, or your agent attraction, do you find yourself going to relationships? Are you finding people that you don't know, or are they finding you? You know, what is a main agent attraction, or a couple of agent attraction tools that have worked best for you?
I think, like I said, the coaching groups, the national coaching groups, and people that I have known in the industry, people that knew me, that knew I was a serious player, that knew I was in this business for the long run. I think that's helped me both locally and nationally. So, but I have cold calls. I absolutely have. And, you know, I've done that in real estate, so why not be able to do that in recruiting? I've called people in the area. I've called people out of the area. I've had good receptions. I've had poor receptions. I've had all that. Yeah. But you're putting yourself out there and you're having the conversations. And that's the difference. The people that are having the conversations, the people that aren't, because not every conversation is going to lead to an agent attraction appointment. Not every conversation is going to lead to a partnership. And yet if we're not playing the game, we certainly can't win it. You know, so we've got to get into the conversations and be okay with some of the good and the bad and the indifferent and learn through those, but just put ourselves out there and have a conversation. I heard somebody say something the other day that I wanted to find a way to bring it. I think this is the perfect timing. When he was talking about agent attraction, he said, there is no financial risk for you in the opportunity
of agent attraction. It's only an ego risk. And
That-
everybody has the ability to take that risk if we choose to. And I loved that.
That's so true. That's so true. You know, I found out a lot of people in my market, since I've been here so long, and I do radio in this market, a lot of people come talk to me just because they were curious. They didn't really have any, they didn't want to go to EXP, but during that time, we got to be friends. Now, I actually believe that they may come back at some point in time. Timing is everything, and everybody's not ready to move right when you talk to them. But if you make that relationship, if you keep that door open, if you, as Brent Gove would say, if you continue to love them, they can come on the love boat with you.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. And that's the thing is, what are you doing to bring value to other people? What are you doing just to build relationships? What are you doing to come from contribution and to love on people? What are you doing to take an extra step with every co-op agent that you have? What are you doing to, you know, bring your best self? And I think if we just come from a place of doing that, we're going to attract people. There's no question about that. Those of us that want to bring the real juice, we're just figuring out how to have more conversations every single week. And I have a lot of conversations, and not every one of them are joining by any means, because if they were, I'd have thousands of people by now, you know, and I only have hundreds. And yet I do know that those conversations are worth having for me and for them. And I know I'm planting many, many seeds. And I have faith that those seeds that are planted will come to, you know, to grow later. And I believe that there's a part of the faith that is so important, because that gets me up every day to do the activity today. And so consistent effort, planting the seeds and loving on people and coming from contribution and just bringing value. I noticed in your topics, Marty, when you send your emails out, it's about educating people. It's about what's worked for me as a top agent in the area, as somebody who's done a lot of real estate. You're not holding this close to the chest. You're saying, let me share with you how to be the best version of yourself in business and in life. And I have no problem sharing everything, and I'll continue to share it every week, week after week, week after week. And by becoming that person who's willing to share and come from contribution and do it consistently over 2 years, and has started to really pay off for you.
That's very true. Yeah. You know, I can't overstate how important the next generation in this business is to me, because I've had a great career with the real estate powers that were powerful over the last 20 years. So looking forward, I'm actually very concerned about the industry, because it's changing from a high level. You know, I like to think I'm a little crazy sometimes, and sometimes I think about big tech and big money and Wall Street and what they've done to our industry. And I almost think about EXP as the antidote to that. Maybe I would call it a union, a union of agents against those forces that would take away opportunity, because I think you get the best opportunity in this type of environment.
That's actually a really interesting thought process, you guys. I hope you just wrote that down, because other people in this industry are feeling the same way, particularly those of us that have been in the business for a while. I mean, we are concerned. We see a lot of change. I mean, especially Marty, you've been in the business a long time. I've been in the business for almost 24 years, you longer than me. And man, it's a very different landscape. I mean, there's some familiarity in the shifting market. I can remember some of those times, but if we look at the industry, it has changed so much. And when something changes the way that it has, we should also be open to changing so that we can continue to stay in it. If we want to stay with the team, the businesses and the brokerages that have been there for 24 years, that were helping us succeed 24 years ago, and expect that they're going to be able to help us today when the market looks dramatically different, I think we're mistaken. And so there's nothing wrong about the companies. There's nothing bad about them. It's just about what do we need to do and how can we take back some of our opportunities and look to the future, because it probably isn't going to look the same. We may not make the same amount of money. There's a lot coming down the pipeline that could change that. And you're right. This is like a union of sorts that protects us and gives us some of these benefits and these opportunities, so we can stay in this industry that we've got passion for, but that we are poised to take on whatever happens in the changes, because inevitably there will be more. What an interesting conversation, you guys, to bring to other people in this industry.
It's interesting, Lori, because I think of the up leveling. I think EXP has brought real estate into the corporate, what I would have called IBM, the executive level with insurance, with assets that we never had as individual contractors. So to even think about retirement now and have a context of where you could actually make that true, I really think it's done a lot for our industry. So I'm thrilled with that aspect of it. And we have to be resilient. And, you know, it would have been the easiest thing in the world for me to stay where I was, doing what I was, certainly would have made enough money to be fine. So why in the world would I, you know, jump on this train? And it's because of my love of this industry and my love of what it's done for me, and because I want to have that opportunity for the next generation as well.
I love that. You guys, when we do this revenue share huddle, we learn from people like Marty, what are they doing to build their own revenue share? But I think what we should also be listening for are the cues of why did someone like Marty come to eXp Realty? Why are we going to go talk to people about why they should come to eXp Realty? Because Marty just made a really good point, which is she could have very much stayed with what was safe and easy and comfortable because she had been in the industry for so long and been at that company for so long. And she was not needing to move to eXp Realty to make more money or more income in the now. But she has a passion and she's got children in this industry. She sees the next generation. She has passion for what this career has done for her and her family, and she wants it to continue. And she sees an opportunity in which she can actually do that, carry on kind of a legacy of sorts, but do it in a way that is going to help this next generation of real estate professionals. And she has an impact in that. And where she would have stayed would have helped her now and kept her income going, but it would not have given her this greater opportunity for impact and to give back to something that she's had a passion for. These are the things that we need to hear, because as we're having transactions with other agents in our markets, we've got friends who've been in the business for a while. What about bringing up this concept? What about saying, I was on a call today and I heard from this really inspiring woman, Marty, and this is a little bit of her story. And she said something that hit home with me. And it made me think about you, because I see all that you've done in this industry. And I just thought, you know what, sometimes we might be going about this explanation of eXp Realty wrong. And this is something that you might want to hear. And just tell them a few things that Marty said and just say, what do you think about that? I mean, does that make sense to you? If you've earned the right to have a relationship with somebody who's been longstanding and successful in your local market, don't be afraid. Remember, this is no financial risk. This is just an ego risk. You're just nervous that your ego is going to be hurt here. They're going to tell you to, fly the coop because you're crazy. That's the worst thing that's going to happen to you. Okay. I promise you, you'll recover from that. Come back on here next Monday and we'll lift you up and tell you it's okay, because, every no leads to another, closer to a yes. But I mean, really, I just think we need to think about different reasons that eXp is attractive to different people, and it's not all the same. So we've got to know all these things so that we can bring forth these different ideas to different people that we know. Marty, what are some of the reasons that you have found that, besides what you just shared with us about yourself, that people are deciding to join eXp? So those people that you've recruited recently, let's just say, or in the last 2 years, are there a couple of specific themes that are really seeming to be the most attractive? Is it across the board?
I think people follow people that they know and trust. I think it's just like listing a house. They got to like you, know you, trust you. And I think people do follow that. This town that I'm in, it's a triangle. It's Raleigh, Durham, and Chapel Hill, North Carolina. And eXp was nowhere in town. And then actually an agent named Tina Call that used to work with me at Remax. She wasn't a broker owner. I was a broker owner. She wasn't. She was an agent. But of course, I knew her from a distance. That's the way everybody from those other companies is from a distance, because you don't ever really have a chance to get together with them as much. So she moved over. I went to hear about it. I said, that's a sound plan. It'll work. But I had a contract to fulfill. So, I went because I knew her, but also I knew the next agent that went. So, and then all of a sudden now eXp is the #1 in our marketplace. Within a year, it was the #1 in our marketplace. So it's timing. And I think that's important, but they got to know you, like you, and trust you.
That's how you earn the right to have the conversation. That's how you earn the right for them to be open to an opportunity. Because if they say people that they know, like, and trust that are there, they think, there's something more to this, because they wouldn't go there if there wasn't. So now I'm curious. And then now we have to know all the different things enough about EXP to kind of take that curiosity to the next level and then move them forward. When you first started in your revenue share growth, did you utilize your upline to help kind of explain the model? And how did you go about, making those introductions, talking to those people? And obviously today you're probably much more educated on it, but I know we all start somewhere at the beginning. I'm just curious how that went for you.
I really think, Karen, that the interaction between your peer and your upline is one of the game changers in this industry. So yes, I did use them. Yes, I continue to use them. Yes, I was on a group call this morning with not one other person, but 2 other people from my upline. So I think that is a strategy that is unique to EXP, as far as I know. I don't know any other company that really utilizes it. And it's a game changer. Absolutely, I used it. And I still do.
And she still does 2 years in, 185 agents. And I just want to encourage that, because I feel like sometimes, we think after we've been at a company for so long, we shouldn't have to do that anymore. And I see it as, like you do, Marty, it's not about having to, it's about getting to. It's about really, we have to understand our upline is being blessed by the growth. They want to help. That's the true success through models, opportunity here. I truly want to help the people that have joined me. In fact, there was an interesting conversation the other day, because I noticed a couple of people who are in a market that were just kind of resistant to the growth, and I could tell they were not as engaged. And I finally got them on a call together, and I said, what can I do to help you? I think let's start with education, so that you truly feel totally educated and you personally engage more, because that's going to give you the confidence to want to go grow. And then all of a sudden, within 3 days, I get text messages. I have like 3 messages and people want to talk about EXP. What do I do? And I said, here, and then the admittance is, I've been getting these for a while. And what was holding them back is that they didn't want to bother me, but they didn't feel confident enough to do it themselves. So they kind of just like ignored it. And I sent a text back, and I truly meant this. And I said, just tell them this. And the script was, I've been at EXP for a little while, just figuring it out, learning, educating in myself first, because that was very important to me. We are looking to grow a great collaborative group here locally, because we believe that there's a great opportunity. I'd love to just have a quick call with you and my business partner, who is really the person that we succeed with, Carrie. She'd love to be on the call. And it's that simple. And I said, I promise you, I got into this to succeed through others after 24 years of not being able to truly do that in the way that I wanted to. I look at this as I get to get up every day and do this for my partners. So please know, I want to help you. And so if you haven't had that conversation with your upline yet, and if you're feeling guilty, like I've got somebody and I don't want to bother them, please go and have that conversation, because I can almost promise you, you're not bothering them, and they would be really delighted to do it. And I'm just feeling like there's a lot of people that are still holding back on that front and trying to do it on their own. And look, you guys, no one succeeds completely alone. And if you haven't done this enough, you shouldn't know everything. You shouldn't expect yourself to know everything. And I personally think it shows us as a much stronger unit when we can show up with our partners. Like, it shows that they're dedicated and that we aren't doing this on our own. And that's a great thing to be sharing with people that are thinking about joining EXP, because it is different than anywhere else that they have ever been. So Marty, as we're wrapping up the call, I would love to have you share with us some of your biggest mindset shifting hacks or strategies, because you shared with us at the beginning, you've been through some tough times. You have had to, no one else was there to help you. You had to help yourself. You had to depend on yourself and yourself alone. You've overcome some challenges of not having resources, being a single mom. And there's a lot of people that will, fall back on that. I don't have enough time. I don't have enough resources. I'm a single mom. I've got this, I've got this, I've got this. And yet we can either let those excuses hold us back, or we can figure out how to overcome them, and we can actually change the trajectory of our lives. And I'd love to hear from you as we end the call. How did you do that? What were some things that maybe other people could take with them if they're struggling today?
Honestly, I had one asset. I had strong faith. And that was that was personal to me. I'm not trying to proselytize anybody or anything, but my faith brought me through some really, really tough times. And it made me stronger. But, you know, that's another reason that I like to continue to challenge myself is I love to exercise faith. It's just like a muscle. You know, if you don't exercise it, it's going to fall apart. So you got to exercise your faith muscles. And, you know, all that stuff, visualization, all that stuff is great. But what have you got left to give? Because life really is about giving. So you've got to find an avenue to give. And what was so great about real estate is I was able to give. I was able to give to my children. I was able to give them a college education. One got a PhD. They went to Europe, you know, all the little necessities that children get. That's a joke. But, you know, I was able to give, but not only to my children, but to other things that I cared about. I was able to give. So I think life is find your faith. That's important. Find your faith and learn how to give, because it's about having more love in ourselves than we do. You know, all of us, we have a challenge of walking around self-defeated. You know, I could do that really easily. There's many things in my past that I could dwell on, but I don't think walking around being self-defeated has ever helped anyone. So you must find your faith. You must go forward, and your faith will grow, and you'll be able to give more.
So find what I'm hearing from you, and this is a great aha for me, because I hear a lot of people talk about mindset. I talk about mindset all the time. But one thing I just heard that was just a huge aha for me is about like exercising that faith muscle. I think I do that naturally. Somebody said to me the other day, how do you just go out there and do the things and not worry about what the outcome is going to be or what people think about you or whatever? And I didn't really have an answer for it. And you just said something that was a huge aha, which is, I really believe that the outcome will come if I do the right thing. I have this faith that does not waver, so I don't care about anything else. I mean, and I say that in a loose term. I'm not unemotional, and I do get, you know, I get upset sometimes if people don't like me, or, you know, if I get rejected, because I'm a human being. And yet my faith is so strong that I just believe that all of those things that happen are happening for a reason for the longer term. And I don't always know what those are, and I just have to be okay with that. So what I would tell all of you today is, if you are going to exercise your faith muscle, like Marty said, which I think is phenomenal advice, you've got to put yourself in positions to do so. You can't exercise your actual muscles without going to the gym and lifting a weight. And it hurts sometimes, and it's painful, and it's not uncomfortable, but then it grows. And so what are you actually doing today that you have to have a deep rooted amount of faith to execute on it? And it's going to be scary and painful, but if you do it, it's going to make that muscle stronger and stronger. I think we don't put ourselves in that position enough because we're too afraid. And that what that means is we don't have enough faith. But the only way you build the faith is by doing the things, right, Marty? You've got to do them to build that muscle.
That's true.
And then find more ways to give. I love that. And I'm not sure we could be at a better place than eXp Realty to find ways to give back and to contribute, because truly we will succeed through others. And so if we can go find people that want to be in our world where we can all achieve more together, we will be conditioned in this union of sorts to help each other, because we know that when we help others, it helps us and it helps the company as a whole. And man, do we need this company to continue to grow in these months and years ahead as this industry shifts and changes. And so find more ways. So 2 to action items as we wrap up the call, I think. And then Marty, I'm going to let you have any final thoughts. Find a way today and this week to exercise your faith muscle. What would that look like? What have you been holding back because you're a little bit nervous and afraid, and what if, and you don't really know if it's going to work out, and how could you actually go execute on that and just believe that it will happen? And even if it doesn't, understand that it's all for a reason and it's going to get you closer to your goal. What would that one thing be? And then number two, where could you give something? Where could you give? What could you do to help or contribute to others? Just one thing this week. And if we all did that every week, like think about how much stronger our faith muscle would get, and think about how much our giving would give us back in return. And I think most of us just lack the consistency around that because we have more fear than we do faith. And so if we can get into those habits, we're going to build something quite amazing. It's the consistent action. And if we aren't getting to the action, something's holding us back. And I think it's that. So those are my 2 takeaways. If anybody else has any other takeaways, I'd love to have you unmute and share. And then we'll have Marty give any final thoughts. Does anybody have something they want to share? I know I've done a lot of talking. I've loved this conversation, by the way, as you can tell. Anyone else want to share an aha?
I think it goes along the same lines with me having an aha moment last week in Charlotte at the conference when I was preaching to other agents to get rid of the either imposter syndrome or get over yourself and just do, well, in my context, it was about video and YouTube, but you know, it kind of goes along the same lines that, and I was talking about how you got to believe that if you do not get up and do the thing, whatever that is, you are doing the disservice to your clients or other agents. If you do not go out of your way, get over yourself, and do not show them a better way to do business, grow, financially growing independent and stuff, all those things that we have in here, you're doing them a disservice because you're so in your head about what they're gonna think and what they're gonna do and this and that. And if those who will think, it's good. It means that they do not belong to your tribe anyways, and you just move on.
You know what? That is a huge aha. If you stay in your head because you're too nervous about what people will think, what you say and do, that's very selfish. It really is, right, Elena? Because there's people out there that need to hear it, and you're not doing it, and you're not helping those people, and you're not finding those people that are supposed to be part of your tribe because you're unwilling to put yourself out there. And that was that whole concept of it's not a financial risk, it's an ego risk. We can all take it, we're just unwilling to. And I do think that's a selfish act, and that's a really good aha. And I know, Elena, you did awesome on stage because I heard a ton of comments. And, you know, that's why people don't do video. It's why people don't make calls. It's why people don't talk to their friends about EXP. It's why they don't go out there and do things, is because it's all about them. It's about themselves. What about it could be about other people? If we put it out there to help other people and we realize we're missing an opportunity, we might think differently about this. I love that. Thank you for sharing that. Marty, final comments or thoughts as we wrap up our call today?
Comment is so good, Carrie. I thank you so much. I've loved this energy. I've loved being on with you guys. I've loved learning a little bit about your group. I want to tell you something. We build together, and I'm always here. If you ever need anything, I would love this. And this is important, even though Carrie and I are not directly related online or anything. But you know, we are directly related through EXP. And I want her to do well, and I want us all to do well because we grow together, we build together. And I love this. You know, at a typical real estate company, if you do a triangle, you probably can't see this, but okay, there's a triangle. See it? All the money goes to the top guy. In EXP, it all comes back to the agents. 51% comes back to the agents. So we matter to each other. It matters how much we can give to each other. So I just want to thank you. I've had a great time. I feel energized. I'll make more calls today because of you guys. Thank you.
I love it. We should all go make calls because of each other. That's the point of the Revenue Share Huddle. Marty, we know you're busy and we really appreciate you contributing and being a guest. And I'm definitely going to keep in touch with you because I know you have some really awesome things that you can share about growing a business. And we do productivity calls during the week as well. We'd love to have you come back sometime, but you were very inspirational, very motivational. And I really, really appreciate knowing you and having you join us. Thank you guys, as always, for coming. We'll see you next Monday. We also have another guest, but don't forget Tuesday and Wednesday this week, we also have guest speakers, and we posted those in EXP Family Tree. So you hope you guys will join us and bring a guest. Thanks, you guys. Talk to you soon.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Bye.